Hello, friends. My name is Lori. I am the daughter of Harriet, who is the daughter of Daisy, who is the daughter of Ether, who is the daughter of ancestors unknown. So I saw all this brouhaha around the cover of the New Yorker that has this black woman showing another black and brown woman pictures of her kid while they're nannying for white kids is the basic gist of the cover. It kind of like created this firestorm on Twitter, all the socials, whatever, and people, for black and brown people, there was a lot of oof, this hit hard and this is really intense. And one woman said, I don't think people get this. A woman of color said, I don't think people understand why a lot of black and brown people are really, there's a history of black and brown people taking care of white people and their children. And so this kind of speaks to that, and white people don't kind of get that. So I heard about the New Yorker cover from this guy who wrote a TV show that talks about these issues that's on the cover. And then this guy who went in depth to talk about the racial justice issues involved in the cover. So all of this is really bizarre because I've been reading this Andre Henry book where he discusses Afro-pessimism, the idea that white people act the way they do because they continue to see black people as slaves and themselves as masters. So this means that non-black people engage in anti-black violence because they enjoy it, like using the N-word. And it's not surprising considering America is an empire founded on racial violence and oppressive politics, and inequality is what makes whiteness meaningful. These are all quotes from his book. So while I was reading all the stuff in the New Yorker about that New Yorker cover and stuff, I was also reading this book called All the White Friends I Couldn't Keep by Andre Henry. And it's, I mean, look at all my stickies, you know, it's a really intense book. And so he's talking about black joy, that blackness is not just about suffering, you know, it's not just like, oh, it sucks to be black or whatever, that there's joy in blackness. And he's, you know, he says, I don't want to work for justice solely from the trauma of living from Mafa, which is the Swahili word for the great terrible thing, which is, you know, slavery and kidnapping of people and all that. I want to live and rebel from a deep well of abundance, joy, hope, and righteous anger. So for black folks, participating in joy is like a revolutionary act because we, you know, Audre Lorde says we were not expected to survive. So to have joy is like thumbing your nose at all that. So, so he had some amazing things to say, but, so here's all, you know, some notes or that, but, so I also came across this book in relation to some joy here. So this is from the library. It's some people I've never heard of, Hakima Hapa and Leslie Ware. Don't know them from anybody or anything. So, so I checked it out of the library, and lots of great photos of black people doing sewing things, and it's mostly centered around making clothes, though. So, a lot of it, you know, like designing and all that kind of stuff, which is not my thing. But really interesting that they would have like these little interludes of here's a woman, the first black woman who was a makeup artist for movies, which wasn't, you know, very recently, not from the beginning of movie times, which is, you know, of course. But anyways, so there's lots of patterns, lots of interesting thing. You can make a little headband that's like a crown with lace on it and stuff. So I think it's mostly geared towards like teenagers more than, because all the pictures are young teenage girls. Although this might be kind of fun to just make a little head wrap or something. But I like the history part. I like the highlighting famous people, and the instructions are in this little illustration kind of a thing. So interesting book. And they have an Instagram, and it sounds like they're struggling to have like programs for kids and stuff like that. So go to Black Girl Sew on Instagram, and there you can see they have a GoFundMe, and go help them do that. Okay, so here's a Romney fleece that I got from a place in Battleground, Washington. And sorry, it's hard to videotape with one hand and move the bag with the other hand, but I just wanted to show you these lovely Romney locks, right? Nice long locks, lots of crimp, and it smelled so good. So this is going to be fun, washing this and spinning this. Look at that. Look at that. So here's what they look like when they've been cleaned. Nice and bright white. There's a little bit of dirt on there. That's not poop. It's dirt, but it comes right off when I use my combs, and then it turns into this lovely, pretty fluff. Ooh, yay. It's so nice. So fluffy. Yes, good stuff. So then I make some tea to get ready to do the next thing. I think the tea that I'm drinking right here is Irish breakfast. It's a good morning breakfast tea. Gotta have a little bit of honey in there with my tea. And I put my saucer over to keep it warm while I'm doing other things. And yeah, that's my teacup. So then I have a nice sit with some books. These are my books about crafting and all the different crafts that I do, spinning and knitting and all that. And then my books on feminism, mostly by black and brown women. Well, who are we kidding? Mostly black women. And so I take a good very dusty shelves. So I take a good bit of time to read through some things to prepare for these videos. And just, these are the books that I read, and maybe some of them will resonate with you too. Give you some ideas of what to read yourself. So then after I do some good reading, I need some time to think about what I read. So let's sit down with some nice knitting, good old plain sock knitting. Turning there. Gotta switch up the needles. And I make sure when I turn my needles, I grab that yarn and then give the that first stitch a nice tug so that you won't get any ladders on my knitting. So good meditative knitting for thinking about things, and also cutting up little square or little hexagon shapes to make these. This is also a very meditative, fun thing to make, and just got to take the papers out of those to use for processing my thoughts, thinking about the world, and having a little bit of joy. Just making these things brings me lots and lots of joy. So I hope you have some good tea, some good books to read, and some really thoughtful crafting ahead of you in the coming days. Thank you, friends.